everybody. My name is Wendy from Cash Life Mastery, and today you're on Cash Life Mastery Social Juice. And today's topic is Twitter lists for newbies, how to use Twitter lists. And today I have my illustrious co-host, the king of Twitter, Keith Keller. Keith, tell everybody how to reach you, and let's get started.
Yeah, so Twitter lists today, we're going to rock this one. I'm Keith Keller, Keithkellerer, and I'm saying that out loud because we're going to put these on iTunes and SoundCloud, and we're really going to repurpose the Blab idea. That's actually been my goal and mission, not only to talk in Blab in real time, but to repurpose the video and the audio after the event. If you want to find out how that's happening, go to hashtag Twitter Tips for Newbies and at Keith Keller. And we're really making a bit of fun out of this, aren't we?
Definitely.
So tell me what you think of Twitter lists and what you'd like to know, because I could talk about this for an hour.
Well, we definitely don't have an hour. So let's talk about how somebody can get started with a Twitter list if they've never used one.
Okay, so let me start at the beginning. With Twitter, there are 9,000 tweets a second. Right? More when things like the Super Bowl and the FA Cup and the AFL Grand Final and, Beyonce falls over because she's wearing high heels, all of that sort of stuff, makes Twitter explode. Yeah. But normally there's about 9,000 tweets a second. And people are grasping onto this idea of how do I manage that? How do I make sure that I can use Twitter in a way that is useful to me? So one of the ways to do that is to create Twitter lists. It's very, very easy to do, and there's a really amazing proposition here. You can have 1,000 lists with up to 5,000 people in each. Now, what that means is that you can have 5 million potential contacts on Twitter if you've got the time to do the admin for that. So you can have 1,000 separate lists with whatever title you want. The town you live in, the town you're visiting, the town you want to go to, the country you like, the language you want to speak, the types of things that are interesting to you, web design, pancakes, photography. And what that means is that every time someone follows you, this is the real value proposition of Twitter lists. Every time someone follows you, if you've got the time, put them on a list. Because what that means is that you can segment your list into people who live in Manchester or London or Kent or Bristol, or people who live in Melbourne, Sydney or Brisbane. So when you go there and you're doing your world tour or you're selling a product that's specific to that area, you can segment your marketing in a very, 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 very specific way. Or you might think, you know what, I really need to get my head around WordPress and I'm just going to hang out with some WordPress dudes.
Yeah, I was about to say for business people, if you're looking for categories for learning or either people that would be prospects, that would be an awesome way to segment them too, people that might be your target market.
Yeah, so you can make them private and or public. I don't think you can do both. You can make them private or public. So if you decide, you know what, here's a list of my clients. I don't want to make that public. I'll make that private. That's just for me. But here's a list of everyone that's followed me that lives in Melbourne. I'll make that public because other people can benefit from that. And if you remember in the previous episodes, we've talked about what I call Twitter 30-30. Follow 30 people a day for 30 days. 900 people in any given month.
Right.
And you should get about 400 or 500 new followers that way. I've got your question there, Ian. Segment in terms of who you view at a glance, not outbound. Yep, that's okay. We'll come back to that idea in a minute. In fact, hold that thought for when we do the after show party. So you've got this idea of people that are following you and the people that you're following, and you can segment them into lists. Very, very, very powerful.
Yes.
So you can have 1,000 lists of any description. You can make them private. You can make them public. the other idea that's very important to know, it's actually very important to know this, you cannot send messages to groups like you do with email. And a lot of people are disappointed about that idea. It's not an email marketing variation. You can't do that.
Awesome tool if Twitter would let you do that.
Yeah, but I know, and that's one thing we've been pushing for. But and I'll give you an example. Say, I have a URL, California, Keller, Fornia.com. I thought that was pretty clever, California.com, because most of my followers are in LA or the west coast of the US. So one day I'll go there and I'll do a tour, the California tour. So I went and got this URL, California.com, and it's pointing at one of my pages on my website in prep for when I do my American tour. So I've got a list of every American city, major American city in the US, and Canada as well, and also some in South America. So when I basically come across someone who lives in Philly or Boston or New York or San Francisco or or ... I say it only takes like it's a right mouse click. You just simply right mouse click on their name, and a drop down box will say add to list.
So
if you don't have a list,
started with Twitter, now is the time to do it, right? Before your list gets too big.
That's right. That's exactly why we've made this the second podcast on the iTunes series. We've done a few blabs that aren't being included in the iTunes version, but in the iTunes version and the podcast version of this learning, this is the second podcast. So we decided to get in really early and say, let's get done with your management of your followers. You're going to get 2 and 3 and 4 and 5,000 followers over time. It's going to be very hard to manage that if you don't get in early with some good habits.
Right.
So it's very easy to do. When try it today. Try this today. When you actually go to Twitter, right mouse click on their name, and a drop down box will come up and it says add to list. If you don't have a list, just click on that and it'll say add to list, create list. And you just simply create a list with, typing in the name that you want, save it, and that person will instantly become your first lister, if you like. And then you can have, as I said, 1,000 different lists. I've got 76 at the moment. Wow. And they're all the different cities in the US and Canada and Europe and all my friends in various industries. And it's an extremely useful way to manage Twitter. Because
you have somebody on more than one list.
Oh, yeah, you can. It's actually quite similar. It's quite similar to Google Plus in a way, except that you can't segment them out and only send information to them. Right. So often I actually do this as an administrative tool, and this is one of the things that we as business owners find challenging, the admin.
Yeah.
But what I try and do is if someone's following me, I might be on the phone, I might be at the bus stop, I might be on the train. I might think, okay, well, I've had 20 new followers overnight. I can follow them back, but I can add them to lists. So I might say, based on your idea of can you add many people to lists, I might add them to my London list if they live in London. I might add them to the UK list because London's in the UK. They might, often a lot of music people follow me, so I might add them to my music list, or et cetera, et cetera. And some people in America, they call it bi-coastal. They often live in New York and LA, like, scattered sort of. They might go 1 week in LA and do some film shooting, and then they actually live in New York where they, where their house is. So they call themselves bi-coastal. A lot of people live in LA and New York or Philly and, Seattle. So it's quite possible that people on lists would have multiple uses for that type of idea. How do you see yourself using lists? What was your understanding of lists before we had this chat?
I think definitely my list building will be for social media, people that are entrepreneurs that are looking for coaching or animated videos for their businesses, because that's what I do. So I would probably segment them like that.
Okay. We've just had a really great question.
Yeah.
We've just had a really great question in the chat room, and apologies for people who are listening to this as a video replay and or a podcast, you actually can't see the questions and who's asked them. But a very good mate of mine, Ian Murray from Melbourne, and his hashtag is dynamic speaking, has asked the question, do you follow people as well or only list them? And that's a really brilliant question, because often people ask me the question, do you follow everyone back? How do you decide how to follow people back? So the question is, I often do both, but I don't always do both. I often follow people back because I believe in that. I know people that don't follow people back, but I believe in following people back if they're related to what I have in mind. If they lived in Philly, or they were in New York or LA or in London or the UK, or they were a podcaster or a blogger or a photographer and that interested me, I would follow them back. I don't follow everyone back, and I don't list everyone. I don't list everyone who has those, buy Twitter followers for $29, or here's my cheeky video, click here and I'll show you my latest bikini. I'm not going to click those photos. I'm not going to add those people to lists, and increasingly they're becoming more and more since the advent of Periscope. I've noticed there's
Definitely.
more, and it's just shocking. There's just we're here to do business. We're here to make friends and make contacts and make money to feed our families. And these strategies are exceptional for business-related, activities. And my piece of the pie, as you know now, is I'm a Twitter dude. I'm a bit of a one-trick pony, but I've got really in deep to Twitter, and I've worked it out. Does that answer your question, Ian? Do you want to follow up on that? But, the idea of Twitter, perfect. Okay, great. So the idea of Twitter lists is this management tool that allows you to manage that 9,000 tweets a second that's happening in Twitter. And quite often, one of the reasons why people don't do Twitter is because it's too hard. And my job in the world is to make Twitter so easy that it's going to be fun. And you can see some of those miracles that I'm creating. And this series is actually going to be about 10 or 12 weeks. This is only the second episode of the iTunes podcast. But this is going to be about 8, 10, 12 weeks of really good goss in really short chunks. It might only be 8 to 10 minutes. But this is one thing you can do today, Twitter lists. Do you want to add something there, or do you want to wrap it up and go straight into the chat room so we can maybe put this on a highlights reel and then keep going with the people that are chatting?
Well, I would say definitely that we all need to get out there and start segmenting our followers on Twitter, even if you have a lot of people, and it may take a little bit of time to get done. I think that overall, from a business point of view, that by segmenting your list, you will actually, in the long run, save time. And of course, time is money, so money. But yeah, let's go ahead and wrap it up and see if we can bring some folks in the room, Keith.
Okay.
So tell everybody again how to reach you.
Okay. So my Twitter handle is @KeithKeller, KeithKeller. I have a completely free ebook on my website, keithkeller.com.au. And don't forget the AU, because there's 175 other Keith Kellers in the US, and one of them has the .com. I'm still trying to get it back. So keithkeller.com.au, thanks Ian for that, is my website, completely free ebook, which gives you a bit of a list of what we've talked about today and other things. And most importantly, if you're following along this particular series of Twitter chats or Twitter discussions, it's #Twitter Tips for Newbies. And everything will turn up in a line. That's a brilliant segue, because next week we're actually talking about hashtags, aren't we? Next week we're doing a blab about what does that mean? What does a hashtag actually mean, Keith? And how's it going to help me get more clients? And I'm going to teach you that next week. So stay with me. So we can probably wrap up the recording and then go into after party mode.
Yes, definitely. So guys, my name is Wendy from Cash Life Mastery. You can reach me at cashlifemastery.com or on Facebook at Cash Life Mastery, where we're helping entrepreneurs into a path to success and into profit. We do business coaching, social media coaching, and animated videos. So guys, if you need an intro or outro, please contact me and we'll be glad to help you with any of your business needs. And today, guys, this was Cash Life Mastery Social Juice Twitter List for Newbies with Keith Keller and Wendy Force. Thank you for joining us, guys. Talk to you next week, Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern.